Brenda had worked the Mercy County ER for 22 years with only one raise, a cost of living adjustment that barely kept up. On her name tag, a red arrow pointed to the numbers, 22 years. Not a celebration, a record of endurance.
I am sorry, it's just me here, Brenda. Sharon had to cover a double, but I couldn't let you leave without something.
This is more than I expected. Not a plaque, not a letter from administration. Just a grocery store cupcake from the receptionist.
She clocked out for the last time, slid her badge across the counter, and left it there.
I poured my life into this place, and this is how it ends.
She walked out the emergency exit into the Tennessee dusk, carrying a cardboard box of old shoes and a small cake. No party, no speech. The hospital that had consumed her adult life let her go without a whisper. But someone had been watching. And from that empty parking lot, a chain of events would soon yank her back. She drove the 15 miles to her small house on the edge of town, the engine sputtering as it had for years. Inside, at the kitchen table, Brenda laid out her final paycheck stub and the stack of bills that had grown fatter every year.
22 years of nights, weekends, double shifts, and my savings couldn't cover 3 months of rent.
From a drawer, she pulled a faded piece of construction paper, a child's drawing of a nurse with big hands and a red heart.
That little boy, Marcus, he drew this after the seizure. I stayed 3 hours past my shift, and he was so scared.
She read the wobbly letters. "Thank you, Nurse Brenda." Then she tucked it back into the drawer.
I gave that hospital everything I had, and all I walked out with was a cupcake.
On the shelf, a photo of her late mother, who had worked 3 jobs, so Brenda could become a nurse.
She always said, when you give care, you give life. But she never told me it would cost so much.
Brenda turned off the light, not knowing that tomorrow's paper would bring a name she hadn't thought about in 22 years. The next morning, Brenda shuffled to the screen door in her housecoat, squinting against the early gray light. The Saturday Herald lay on the porch step, its plastic sleeve beaded with dew. She bent and tugged it free. She unfolded the front page, and the headline seemed to shout, "Texas investor buys Mercy County Hospital. Plans sweeping reforms."
A new owner. The private equity vultures finally sold. Wonder who got rich this time.
Then her eyes dropped to the photograph beside the name, and the cup of coffee she was holding hit the porch floor.
That face. It's been 22 years, but those eyes, I'd know them anywhere.
Her hands began to tremble so badly the newsprint blurred. She flattened the paper against the doorframe and forced herself to read the name.
Marcus Cole. The little boy who seized in the ER. The one who drew me that card. He's the billionaire.
The quiet retirement, the cupcake, the 22 years of pay stubs, everything in her narrow world suddenly rearranged itself around that name.
He bought the hospital. But why? Does he even remember the nurse who held his hand? Or am I invisible to him too?
The newspaper fell to her lap. Her mind slid backward 22 years to a Tuesday night in a cramped ER room. An 8-year-old boy lay alone on a gurney, his body snapping into a seizure, monitors screaming, no parent in sight.
Daddy, please.
Mr. Cole, your son is seizing. He's asking for you. Can you come? Then handle it yourself. That's what you are paid for.
The line went dead. Brenda stood in the corridor. Fury and heartbreak knotted in her throat.
It's just me and you tonight, sweetheart. I am not going anywhere.
She stayed 3 hours past her shift, telling him about the ocean, holding his hand until his breathing steadied at 2 a.m.
You are the first grown-up who didn't leave me. What's your name?
He drew that card the next morning. I'd never seen a child so alone. And I never saw him again until this paper.
Brenda went inside, pulled out a clunky laptop that took 3 minutes to boot, and connected to the internet. She typed Marcus Cole Oil Services, and the search results spilled down the screen like a biography of someone she once knew. An industry profile read, Cole has quietly acquired 14 rural hospitals over 11 years, each in communities where nurse pay had stagnated for over a decade.
14 hospitals. Mercy County is the 14th. He didn't just buy one. He's been doing this for years.
Another article mentioned a childhood seizure. He recalls being terrified in an ER until a nurse took his hand, the writer noted without naming her. She taught me that wealth has nothing to do with what you have and everything to do with what you give. Cole was quoted.
He said that. He remembers. But why hasn't he reached out?
His foundation's site listed the hospitals, each with a new staffing initiative. Mercy County was the latest, but no personal message, no letter, nothing.
Maybe I am just one of many nurses. Maybe he doesn't even know I still work there. Or maybe he thinks a cupcake and a headline is enough.
She closed the laptop and sat in the dark, watching the phone, the clock ticking towards a weekend she hadn't planned for. Unable to sleep, Brenda reopened the laptop and searched deeper into the archives of business magazines. A long profile read. He described the seizure in chilling detail, the monitors, the empty chair beside the bed, the nurse who appeared out of nowhere. I remember her hand on my shoulder, her voice telling me about the ocean. She didn't ask for anything. She just stayed.
That was me. He remembers every detail, the ocean, the hand, the whole night.
She scrolled further, her hand trembling on the mouse. Cole was quoted. I never learned her last name, but I've spent my fortune trying to honor what she taught me.
Trying to honor me. You bought the hospital, but you didn't call. You didn't ask. What are you waiting for?
She stared at his corporate headshot, confident, distant, and felt an unbearable gap between the terrified boy and this billionaire in a suit. She shut the laptop and pressed her palms flat against the table, as if holding herself down. The room was silent, except for her own breathing. 2 days passed without a word. Brenda told no one, not even Sharon, because saying it out loud would make the waiting real. On the third morning, Brenda found a cream-colored envelope tucked behind the screen door. No stamp, just her name in crisp black ink. She slid it open and pulled out a single typed letter on heavy stock, the new hospital logo stamped at the top. Dear Miss Brenda, on behalf of the new ownership, we thank you for your 22 years of dedicated service. We respectfully request a meeting to discuss a significant opportunity.
A meeting. After 22 years of silence, now they want to talk. It has to be because of him.
Her hands shook as she dialed Sharon's number. It rang 4 times before a groggy voice answered.
Sharon, I need to tell you something. The man who bought the hospital, he was a patient of mine. 22 years ago.
Brenda, slow down. You are telling me the billionaire from the paper is that little seizure boy? The one you never stopped talking about?
They sent a letter asking for a meeting. I don't know what he wants. What if it's just a publicity thing?
You'll never know unless you go. You've spent 22 years giving without asking. Maybe this time, you get to receive.
I am scared. Sharon, if I go and it's nothing, I'll feel like a fool. But if I don't go, I'll wonder for the rest of my life.
She hung up and pressed the letter flat on the table, its words already changing the shape of her quiet retirement. She'd been sitting by the window since dawn, the letter unfolded in her lap, the same 2 sentences echoing in her mind. At precisely 11, a black sedan with tinted windows crunched to a stop at the curb. The engine cut and the driver didn't move.
He's here. After all the research, all the waiting, I'm about to face the boy I held 2 decades ago.
The door opened. Marcus Cole stepped out in a tailored navy suit, but his hands were curled into fists at his sides, his stride hesitant. He climbed the porch steps as if each one cost him. When he reached the screen, he lifted his eyes and everything else fell away.
His voice broke. Brenda, I don't know if you remember me. I was 8. You stayed with me one night when no one else came.
She pushed open the screen door, tears already falling. I remember every minute, Marcus. You drew me a card.
He inhaled sharply, and the composed billionaire vanished. In his place stood the scared little boy, still desperate to be seen.
I've waited my whole adult life to say this. You are the reason I am who I am. Please, may I come in?
Brenda stepped back, her throat too tight to answer. She gestured toward the living room, where everything was about to change. They sat on opposite ends of the worn sofa, afternoon light cutting a stripe across the rug between them.
I've rehearsed this so many times, but now all the prepared words are gone. I'll start with that night.
He looked at his hands, then back at her, and the years peeled away.
My father never came. Not that night, not any night, but you. You didn't just stay. You held my hand and talked until I forgot where I was.
I remember. You were so small and so brave.
When my father died, I inherited a company I didn't want. But I remembered you, and I knew what to do with it.
His voice steadied. 11 years ago, I started buying hospitals, places where nurses were underpaid, forgotten. Mercy County is the 14th.
14 hospitals. All because I stayed 3 extra hours.
I found your name in the retirement records. I had to come myself. There's more I need to ask. But first, I need you to know. You changed everything.
The room was silent, except for the ticking clock. Brenda's hands were shaking, but she didn't look away. Marcus reached into his jacket and withdrew a leather folder. He set it on the coffee table, between them as if it were made of glass.
I didn't just come to thank you. I came to ask you to come back.
He opened the folder and slid a single sheet of paper across the wood. At the top, in bold letters, Chief Patient Advocate.
The salary is calculated. It equals what you would have earned if you'd been paid fairly for the last 22 years.
That number. It's more than I made in my whole career. This can't be real.
You gave me more than 3 hours. Let me give you back what was stolen from you.
And then, as if the couch wasn't low enough, Marcus Cole sank to one knee on the worn rug.
I am not asking as a billionaire. I am asking as that terrified boy you held together. Please, Brenda, help me fix this hospital.
He's on his knees. After 22 years of being invisible, this boy, this man, is on his knees.
The contract lay between them, unsigned. Brenda's hand hovered over it, trembling, but she didn't pick up the pen.
Marcus, I don't want your pity. I didn't stay that night for a paycheck. I stayed because no one else would.
This isn't pity. I've bought 14 hospitals and not one of them has a chief patient advocate. I need someone who knows what nurses actually face.
You could hire anyone with a title. Why me? I'm just a retired nurse who was invisible to 3 different owners.
Because you are not just a nurse. You are the nurse who taught me that kindness isn't transactional. That's the leadership this hospital needs.
He stood and gestured to the window, toward the hospital, barely visible in the distance. His voice dropped.
The last time I was in that building, I was 8 and terrified. You made it bearable. Now I want every patient and every nurse to feel that same safety.
Sharon's been there 10 years. No raise. Patty at reception earns less than the kitchen staff. They're not just numbers to me.
Then help me fix it. I'll fire the executives who ignored them. You'll have the authority to raise wages, hire more staff, whatever you need.
Give me tonight. I need to think, not about the money, about whether I can be what you're asking.
Marcus had gone, the black sedan vanishing down the road. She sat in the dimming room, the contract still open on the table. She reached for the phone and dialed Sharon's number before her courage could fail.
Sharon. He offered me a job, chief patient advocate. The salary is, it's more than I ever earned.
Chief Patient Advocate? Brenda, that's incredible. But why do you sound like you're in a funeral?
Brenda pressed the phone to her ear and watched the ceiling as she sifted her feelings.
I am scared, Sharon. This is bigger than me. What if I fail them?
On the other end, Sharon's voice came through, steady and sure.
You taught me that a nurse doesn't walk past a need. You've been preparing for this your whole career.
She's right. I stayed 3 hours for a stranger. I can give 1 year for my own.
She hung up and stared at Marcus's business card on the table. Then she picked it up and dialed. The phone rang twice before Marcus picked up, his voice taut with hope.
I'll do it. I'll be your chief patient advocate. Not for the money, for the nurses I left behind.
You have no idea how much this means. I'll have the car pick you up at 8. Tomorrow, we clean house.
22 years of pay stubs. And now this single page holds everything they withheld.
She signed, and when she looked up, Marcus was waiting, his hand extended.
Welcome back, Chief Patient Advocate. The first order of business is a board meeting in 30 minutes. I want you there.
They shook hands not as billionaire and retiree, but as two people who understood that fairness was long overdue.
Lord, give me the strength to speak for those who can't.
And with that handshake, the woman who had left with just a cupcake was now the highest paid advocate the hospital had ever seen. But before she could start, one more task demanded her presence. Watching the executive team get fired, Brenda entered the boardroom and stood against the back wall, her eyes moving over the faces of the men who had ignored her for decades.
Effective immediately. This hospital's executive team is dissolved. You will leave the premises within the hour.
Richard Halstead half rose, the chair scraping, his face a mask of disbelief.
You can't just dismantle leadership. This facility will collapse without us.
It collapsed under you. For 22 years, you froze nurse wages while awarding yourselves bonuses. The only regret is that it took this long.
Richard's eyes swept the room and locked on Brenda in the back, recognition curdling into fury.
You are behind this? A retired nurse with a grudge?
No, Mr. Halstead. A chief patient advocate with a spreadsheet of what you stole.
Security handed Richard a cardboard box, the same kind Brenda had carried out days before. He stormed past her, the box slipping, but she didn't flinch. The boardroom fell silent. Brenda looked at Marcus, then at the empty seats, and understood that the hospital had just changed owners, and so had she. Monday morning, Brenda stepped through the emergency entrance, wearing a navy blazer instead of scrubs. The same doors she had used for 22 years, but this time security held them open.
She pinned the new badge to her lapel, Chief Patient Advocate. It sat there like a promise, not to a billionaire, but to every nurse who had been invisible.
Look at you, all official.
I am still trying to believe it. Tell me the truth. How bad is the staffing this morning?
2 nurses out sick. Night shift down a person. We've been stretched since you left. No one's fixed the schedule yet.
Brenda pulled out a notepad and wrote down the names and the gaps, her hand steady after years of charting vitals at 3 a.m.
I'll post new positions today. That's the first thing we fix.
She spent the next hour walking the floor, stopping at every station, asking each nurse what they needed most. Their answers filled 3 pages.
Some of them don't believe the raises will ever happen. The private equity folks made big promises before and never delivered.
22 years, and she could finally move the pieces. Tomorrow, she'd call every nurse into the break room and show them the future.
The next morning, Brenda found Marcus in a small conference room and set a binder stuffed with staffing sheets on the table.
You look like a woman with a plan.
I have the numbers. If we redirect the executive salary pool, we can give every nurse an immediate raise and fund 6 new positions.
She slid the spreadsheet across the table. Marcus scanned it, his expression unreadable.
This is every penny of the old salaries redirected. You are not asking for a budget increase. You are moving the deck chairs.
The deck chairs are people, Marcus. And they've been sitting in the same spot for 22 years.
Do it. Every nurse gets a raise tomorrow. I'll have legal draft the new pay scales by noon.
Back in her office, Brenda sat down at the computer and began typing the memo that would change the hospital's future. She wrote, "Effective immediately, all nursing staff will receive a wage increase commensurate with their years of service, retroactive to the beginning of the quarter."
Tomorrow, they'll see it in black and white. Tomorrow, the invisible becomes seen.
The next morning, the break room was packed so tightly that nurses stood along the walls, arms crossed, faces braced for another empty promise.
I know you've heard promises before. This one is different. Effective immediately. Every nurse receives a pay increase based on years of service.
The room went silent. Then someone in the back gasped.
She did it. She actually did it.
Sharon stood and began to clap. The sound was solitary for a heartbeat. Then the room erupted.
22 years of being invisible, and now they're on their feet for me.
Nurses rushed forward, embracing her, and Brenda let the tears fall without shame. On the wall, the memo was pinned, the numbers undeniable.
My mother would have said, "Tonight they rest, knowing they're valued." And for the first time, I believe it.
The room buzzed with laughter and disbelief, and in that noise the hospital finally sounded different. As the applause faded, Sharon tugged Brenda toward the break room, where a hand-painted banner read, "Thank you, our advocate."
We couldn't let you leave without something real this time.
A badge. After 22 years of pay stubs and a single cupcake, they're giving me a badge.
The enamel pin read, "Our advocate." Sharon pinned it beside Brenda's official ID as the room went quiet.
She pulled Sharon close, her voice cracking. "We did it, Sharon. We actually did it."
You did it, Brenda. You carried us all here.
The break room erupted into laughter as nurses traded stories of years without raises, now sharing something new.
I am not the invisible woman who walked out with a box. I am theirs.
For the first time in 22 years, the hospital felt like it belonged to the people who worked there. And in that break room, amid laughter and tears, Brenda understood that gratitude from the powerful had arrived without a price. Brenda stepped outside for a moment of air. The break room's noise muffled behind the glass doors. In the parking lot, she spotted Richard Halstead, shoving the last box into his trunk, his tie loosened, face red. Richard saw her, straightened, and his mouth twisted.
You think you've won. This place will be bankrupt in 6 months without real leadership.
I am not here to win, Mr. Halstead. I am here to work.
He waited for her to add something, but she just looked at him. The same look she gave difficult patience. His shoulders slumped, and he turned back to his trunk, muttering something she didn't catch.
That man had 22 years to do right. He chose a box of nothing.
She didn't watch him drive away. She walked back toward the hospital, the pin on her lapel catching the sun. Some victories aren't shouted. They're worn next to the heartbeat. Shift change. Brenda stood at the nurse's station, where she had once left her badge. The room quieted.
I've given this hospital 22 years. Tonight, I want to give you something else. My story. When I was young, I held a seizing boy for 3 hours. His father never came. That boy grew up to buy this hospital.
She reached into her pocket and pulled out her worn pink stethoscope, the one she'd carried for 2 decades.
This stethoscope heard that boy's heartbeat steady. Now every tool in this hospital belongs to the people who use them.
Several nurses looked away, wiping their eyes. Sharon nodded slowly, her hand over her heart.
You are not invisible. Every hour you work, every hand you hold, it matters. It echoes.
She slipped the stethoscope back into her pocket and placed her new badge over the old one. When she finished, no one clapped. The silence was heavier than applause, filled with something that felt like hope. And for the first time, Brenda knew that the hospital she had left, with a cupcake, had become a place she could belong to again. That evening, Brenda walked the ER alone. The night shift was fully staffed for the first time in decades. She paused at the worn nurse's station, her old counter, now crowded with 3 nurses charting calmly.
Here, she had received a single cupcake. Now the room hummed with enough.
A young nurse caught her eye and smiled shyly, as if recognizing a quiet legend.
She has no idea I used to be her, Brenda thought, mopping floors and holding hands in the dark.
She touched her 2 badges, the official title and the enamel pin from her colleagues.
I used to believe invisible meant worthless. Now I know invisible is just waiting to be seen.
Through the glass, the new hospital flag snapped against a purple dusk.
Some gifts take 22 years to arrive. This one was worth every night shift.
In that stillness, she felt not the weight of years, but the lightness of purpose. At home, Brenda took the faded construction paper from the drawer for the last time. She slid it into a simple frame and set it on the shelf beside her mother's photograph, the crayon nurse with big hands and a red heart. now stood where it belonged.
22 years ago, a little boy gave me this. Tonight, it sits where it belongs.
Through the window, the distant hospital flag snapped against the dusk, a new symbol on the horizon.
Some gifts take 22 years to arrive. This one brought me home.
She touched the 2 badges on her lapel, one official, one gifted, and felt complete. The nurse who once left with a cupcake had become the woman who returned with a purpose. She was never invisible to the one who mattered most. And in that silence, Brenda knew the last 22 years had been the prologue, not the end.